everybody, and welcome to another episode of Haunted Pasta Playthroughs. Now, while monetizing my videos, I went through some of my old videos and found out that a lot of people actually liked Haunted Pasta Playthroughs. So, because of that information that I didn't see before, I'm now going to try my attempt at reviving the series. So, today we're going to be doing a creepypasta that a lot of people told me about during my actual Let's Plays. This creepypasta is called LSD Dream Emulator. And with that, let's go ahead and begin. A few years ago, while searching on /x/ for paranormal or creepy games, I came across an obscure Japanese PlayStation game called LSD Dream Emulator. Despite the game releasing in extremely limited numbers, many ROM sites had it available for download. Naturally, I downloaded it, converted it, and started playing. Unfortunately, the ISO was corrupted, or incorrectly ripped. As I couldn't get any farther than the title screen, and when I did, I saw a mess of colors and heard a strange buzzing sound, like radio static, I tried re-downloading the ISO multiple times, trying it from different websites, but every single one was the same. Strange colors, fuzzy static sound. I tried posting questions on various gaming sites, but hardly anyone had ever heard of the game, and even less have actually played it. I learned that the game had a cult following, both here and in Japan, and I even found a small Yahoo fan group dedicated to the game. I posted a question asking if anyone had managed to get the game working on the emulator, and a few days later, I received an answer. Hi, I was one of the members of the ripping group who released the LSD rip. We managed to successfully rip the game, but we have never managed to get it working on an emulator, only on the original hardware. By this point, I had practically given up. I didn't have a PlayStation console, and my attention span was short, and I had long since moved on to other things, like Eversun and Yumidiki. Then, earlier this year, LSD was released to the Japanese PlayStation Network. I remembered how much I'd tried to play it, even browsing eBay a few times, in the vague hope that a cheap copy surfaced. So, I made an account, bought a JPN PSN card, and purchased the game. And after downloading and installing, I began playing it. The PlayStation logo came up as usual, but with the SKYPE instead. It was a Japanese game. There was no copyright screen. They have removed it from several other games as well. The intro video started playing after that. Different colored words bounced across the screen, spelling out "linking the sapient dream" multiple times. Apparently that's what LSD stood for. I pressed the circle button and the game went to the title screen. There was no press start screen. It just went straight to a screen with 4 or 5 options. Start, save, load, and options above start. Above start there was a line of text telling you what day you were on. It displayed a day 01. I chose start. One thing I have learned from the Yahoo group was that the first day always started in a Japanese house, with 3 floors. The contents of the house were random. The entire game was played in first-person view. I walked along the hallway I started in and walked into a bookcase. The screen faded to white. That's the strange thing about this game. You can interact with anything. Walking into anything moves you to a new area, which the game calls linking. The white faded away and I was in a field. I couldn't see very far into the distance because every area had a fog a few feet ahead of you. The graphics were also basic, with most having no texture to them. I walked onwards, eventually bumping into a tree, which sent me to another area. This time, things have gotten a bit more sinister. I was in a dark city, standing on a metal pier. A boat loomed in the fog. Out on the water, a lamppost lit the streets. I walked down the road and came across alleyways. Graffiti covered some of the walls, strange multicolored eyes staring at me. Then I heard a noise, and the screen flashed quickly. I turned around. Just behind me, a man had appeared. He was wearing a gray hat and a long trench coat. He was walking slowly towards me, almost gliding across the ground. I tried to walk backwards to get away, but my controller wasn't responding, and he was getting closer. For a split second, 2 red dots glared out from under his hat. Then the screen flashed again. This time I was back in the house. Something has changed though. The textures on the wall were replaced with pictures of real women. Of pictures of real violence. Women being raped, children torn apart, cannibalism, torture, a Japanese man breaking his own fingers with a hammer. As I moved through the house, the pictures slowly began getting worse, and the music began distorting and slowing down. The corridor was longer than it was before, and it was getting darker. I knew what was at the end. He was. I moved onward, the bile rising in my throat and fighting the urge to vomit. As the pictures began escalating into terrible levels of obscenity and violence. A few steps forward, a man removing a young boy's leg, a few more, a pregnant woman cutting her own fetus out. Further still, a gang of men cut a crow into pieces, wrapping the internal organs around their bodies. Closer to the end, people being forced to eat the corpse of a child, vomiting as they eat parts of him. Finally, I reached the end of the corridor. The screen faded to black, and a line of text appeared on the screen. The line of text apparently is a link. http://oharaweb.weebly.com/lsdgmn.html. I wrote the link down, and a few seconds later the game faded to white again and returned to the title screen. This time the status said D space. Okay, this is weird. Capital D space lowercase d capital A lowercase y space 00. I tried to choose start again, but the game wouldn't let me continue. I restarted the PS3 and the status went back to a day 01. Before I played it again, I tried the link. It still worked. A page came up, filling with Japanese writing. Further down the page there was a picture of the gray man as he normally appeared. I can't read Japanese, but one of my friends could. He lived in Japan for a few years, so he could read and speak the language fluently. I copied the writing down and called him up. After he showed up, I spent the next few hours telling him what had happened. Obviously he didn't believe me. Who would? But he still agreed to take a look at the writing on the page. Despite several tries, I couldn't get the web page up again. So I handed him the copy I made. He glanced at it for a few minutes, then suddenly turned white. He handed it back to me and sat down on the couch. He said nothing for 5 minutes, and then he told me what it said. If you are reading this, well done. You have seen the man as he is. What he did to me as I slept, as I dreamed, his dark nightmare. You have also seen it. Those violent images were him. He had no form, only the dream man. He caused all this, those events and the images. He took those innocents and possessed them. He made them do it. He made me make that game. And then it says, in all caps, gray, 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 gray. I can't describe how it was supposed to be said. As he finished, he stood up, grabbed his coat, and said, "Whatever you saw in that game, don't tell me anything about it." Then he left. The next week, he went back to Japan. I couldn't touch another console after that. I destroyed the PS3 and replaced my computer. A week later, after he had left for Japan, I got a call. He had killed a woman, and then committed suicide. The woman he had killed, Osamu Sato, was the lead designer on LSD. And that is LSD. There's one little part at the end that says, if you guys are wondering, this game actually does exist, but isn't nearly as violent. So, I guess I should give my synopsis. on the game. First off, is it real? Well, considering I did a whole, well, nearly whole Let's Play of it, and I got to around 230 dreams, and none of that shit that he apparently found on the first day happened, I gotta say that, you know, this doesn't exist. If you've ever played LSD, you know that this couldn't happen. The images on the wall, there are only 4 textures in the entire game. There's like normal, kanji, the weird kind, and then one titled Sex. Sex has a bunch of images of girls without any nude parts showing. So to have a 5th texture with all of this, I don't think with the amount of game data that was put into the game, with all the cutscenes and everything, I highly doubt that they could have fit another one. However, if they could, I'm not a designer aficionado, so I'm not really sure. As for the creepypasta itself, it was actually kinda good. It did have the whole, you know, images flashing up and all that, and it really gave you a creepy vibe, but I didn't feel discomfort, like this is a bad creepypasta whenever I was reading this. I didn't find, you know, some, okay, this is bullshit kind of thing. It actually set itself pretty good. And the fact that he couldn't read the text but his friend could, and his friend, like, went completely white, that just shows you that his friend, like, knew something more. And that the friend eventually killed the lead designer and committed suicide. You wonder, like, you know, if just a text alone could have said that and made that happen. Like, I don't know. Anyways, what would you rate this creepypasta? Me, myself, I give it a 4 out of 5, and an 8 out of 10 if we were going on a 10 scale. But I would like to know what you guys would rate this creepypasta. If you have any more ideas for different creepypastas I could do, I am thrilled to know what they would be in the description. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. This has been one Crazy Fox 1 on Haunted Pasta playthroughs. Hopefully we can get the series revived. And with that, I am out.